Shri Radha Krishna Bhagwan Ki. We have discussed 4 golden rules for living your best life. Do you remember?
Yes.
First one was about installing good beliefs, and the second one was harness the power of self-talk. Yesterday, golden rule number 3, develop grit, inner strength. And the 4th golden rule yesterday was cultivate the attitude of gratitude. Now, 5th golden rule, install good habits. What are habits? Customary ways of behavior that become so much a part of us that we can do them almost without thinking, as if automatically. All of us have many habits. Somebody has got the habit of saying matlab after every sentence. Matlab, matlab, matlab. All of us have got different habits. These habits seem to happen as if automatically. Agatha Christie, the famous writer, she said, curious things habits. People did not even know that they had them. Some people's habit is after coming from office, they must play golf. If they don't, they feel uncomfortable. Somebody's habit is along with food, they must have tea. If they don't have tea, they feel that food will not be digested. Somebody's habit is they must do meditation every day. If they miss it someday, they think that something is incomplete. One mathematician called Daniel Hilbert, he had a party in his house. A lot of people had come. Hilbert's wife saw that her husband's shirt is crumpled. And she said, you go up and change your shirt and come. He went up and did not come back for 25 minutes. The wife thought, what has happened? She went up to check and found that her husband was sleeping on the bed. Because when he took off his shirt, out of habit, without thinking, he lay down on the bed and fell asleep. That is how these habits are. They have become a part of our personality for better or for worse. Some habits work to your advantage, the habit of hygiene, the habit of polite behavior, the habit of positive thinking, etc., healthy foods. Some habits, they work against you. There are people who are habitual procrastinators. They will never get down to doing it. Other people are habitually blaming others for their own defects. It is all his fault, her fault. Some people are habitually doing negative thinking. So these habits, we have installed many inside of us. Some people are habituated to addictions. Those habits have grown so strong. Surgery, etc. is done on the brain of people who are addicted to alcohol. But even after the surgery, the habit will not go. Others are addicted to chemicals, heroin, smack, etc. In India, people are addicted to tobacco. I was in Chandni Chowk, the busy marketplace of Delhi. And on the footpath, a lady was selling something in a pot. She was saying, Babuji, come and take this food. If you eat it, then no thieves will come to your house. And also no dogs will bite you, because in India stray dogs are moving around. No dogs will bite you, and you will never grow old. I said, my God, three benefits from one food. What kind of superfood is this? Americans must know about it, because they have taken cinnamon from India and they have taken turmeric. Now they should know of this superfood. I said, Mataji, what are you selling? She said, Swamiji, I am selling tambaku, tobacco. I said, how come tobacco provides these three benefits? She said, if you keep on eating, you will get tuberculosis. So you will cough through the night. And any thief comes, they'll say, oh, this person is awake, don't go to his house. So thieves will not come to your house. And you will grow weak, so you will have to walk with a stick. When you walk with a stick, no dog will bite you. And you will die before growing old, so you will never grow old. These are bad habits that grip someone. But you can also develop good habits. So what is the science of habits and how do they develop? The first scientist who did research on this was in the year 1904. A Russian scientist called Ivan Pavlov. His experiments are famous, which he did with dogs, which led to the classical theory of conditioning. Pavlov was just studying the digestive system of dogs. So a dog would be brought and food would be brought. And he would see how much does the dog salivate. But then he discovered, even without the food, the moment the attendant comes in front, the dog has started salivating. Then he conditioned the dog. The food would be brought and the bell would ring. And finally, merely ringing of the bell would make the dog salivate. And that led to the classical theory of conditioning. So likewise, we human beings also start getting conditioned by what we hear again and again, by the company we keep. All of this starts to condition our behavior. We don't realize it, but by the time we grow up, most of our actions and our attitudes are a consequence of the habits that we have installed. Swami Vivekananda, once he was returning from Dakshineshwar to Calcutta. And on the way it started raining heavily. There was one florist shop. He ran in to take shelter. At the same time, some fisher women had sold their fish in Kolkata and they were returning to Dakshineshwar. They also got stuck, so they ran with their fish baskets into the same florist shop. The florist was a nice man. He said, you can both rest here for the night. These ladies can go inside where the flowers are and sleep there. And the Swamiji can sleep out in the veranda. Now the ladies inside, they were in the midst of these flowers and they were feeling suffocated. Outside, Swamiji was with the fish baskets. He was also feeling that this tent will kill him. About 2 o'clock in the morning, the ladies said, we can't sleep here. They came out. Swamiji said, thank God, let me go and sleep in. He went and slept peacefully in the middle of the flowers. The ladies, they sprinkled water on the fish baskets and now it is all right. They went to sleep. And Swamiji said, look how we all get conditioned in different ways. So, How do habits form? Let's try and understand. Our brain has this principle of neuroplasticity. What is that? We've got a budding neuroscientist sitting out here, he will tell you. You see, we've got 100 billion neurons. 100 billion means 10 to the power 11 neurons. So whenever we engage in a physical or mental act, millions of neurons get fired, enabling us to think and to do. But our brain is smarter than any chat GPT. Chat GPT is primitive in comparison. This brain created by God is far smarter. So when the brain realizes that this action is getting repeated again and again and again, the brain forms shortcuts of it. It creates axons between the neurons to enable those actions and those thoughts to happen more easily the next time. That is why the saying in English that neurons that fire together, they start wiring together. It creates like a neural highway, which makes it easier for you to do that activity. That is how you master any skill. The first time we started typing, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. How much of labor it took for your brain, oh my God, which finger to put for T and which to put for E. But when you kept on doing it, it became easier and easier. And after 1 year, you were typing at 80 words a minute. If a villager who has never seen a typewriter comes and looks at you typing, they'll say, oh my God, this guy is either a magician or he's got yogic siddhis. But what is it? This is the ability of the brain for neuroplasticity. That is how we learn any skill. Practice makes perfect. But the same nature of the brain facilitates the creation of habits. So let us say you came back from office exhausted. You said, I need some entertainment. You sat on the main sofa of your living room and switched on Netflix for entertainment. Then you said, I want some more maja. If I can have coffee, that will be nice. So you went and fixed a coffee and started drinking while watching Netflix. And that coffee naturally gave you some happiness. You repeated this action for 10 days, 15 days, every time coming from office. Slowly, the habit started locking in. That habit has got 3 parts to it. The first is the trigger. The second is the programmed reaction. And the third is the reward. This is the habit loop. So for example, now what is the trigger? Whenever you come and sit in front of your TV and open Netflix, that is the trigger. The programmed reaction is the desire for coffee, because the brain has got programmed. And the reward is the pleasure you get from the coffee. That pleasure reinforces the habit loop. Slowly, it grips you. Now if you've been doing it for 4 months, you say, automatically I developed a desire for coffee. Because you practiced it for 4 months. Now in this, the trigger could be anything. Some person, supposing you developed hatred to some person, that person is the trigger. The conditioned response is bitterness. And then the reward, when you vent your anger, it makes you feel peaceful. Okay, thank God. So, it could be, the trigger could be a time of the day. The trigger could be some object. And the programmed response could be emotions, could be thoughts, could be actions. And the reward could be anything, the gratification of the palate, etc., etc. Only thing is, our brain is so smart, it doesn't need external rewards. It can create its own rewards. It will secrete dopamine, the pleasure chemical, making you feel good. So that will reinforce the habit loop. The interesting thing is that habits come in unannounced. You don't even know it's coming. And slowly they become so strong, even if you want to finish it, it will not go. Ask the person who's a drug addict, the first few times you took the puff, did you think you would have to go to the rehab? Arre bhai Baba, I just took it with some friends. Now the situation is such that it comes in pinches in the mind. Smoke me, I will not let you live in peace. The same cigarette that he took for a few fun times, now the same cigarette has made him a slave of it. See, the best definition of cigarette that I have read is it's a pipe, right? With smoke at one end and a fool at the other end. Now the fool knows that cigarette smoking is injurious to health. Still he's smoking it. But how come he became a fool? He was not careful the first few times. And slowly through the habit loop, the trigger, the programmed reaction and the reward, the habit started gripping. Fortunately for us, habits can be changed. The neuroplasticity of the brain works both ways, to create bad habits and also to create good habits. So if there is a bad habit, there is no need to lose hope. In fact, there is hope. You can break it. Social scientists have done studies that when a fast food joint moved into a locality, some people fell prey to it. They said, McDonald's has come, McDonald's Zindabad. And they went and savored. So naturally the French fries with the oil and salt will give happiness. And they did it a few times and they became addicted to junk food. But the social scientists also discovered that if in case the fast food joint moved away, within 1 or 2 years people's habits disappeared. And that then creates for us the hope that habits can be changed. These habits, they are programmed behaviors, very much like the macro which you place on an Excel sheet. Your Excel sheet, you can program a cell by putting a macro on it. And then whatever number, etc. you put in the cell, the macro will do its work. Square root, etc., etc. Now the macro does not care whether you designed it correctly or wrongly. Macro will do its work. It's your responsibility to create good macros. And if your macros are messed up, the whole Excel sheet will be spoiled. Likewise, our subconscious doesn't care what kind of habits we create. It is now for us to use our intellect and decide, this habit is harming me. It is not productive. And I need to change this habit. Now you may have good habits that you want to retain, and you may have not so good habits that you want to change. So what is the science of changing habits? See, any behavior will go through 3 stages. The first is conscious incompetence. What does that mean? Means you are using your full intellect and doing it, but you are still incompetent in it. Because the circuitry is not there in the head as yet. Like for example, when we were little and we first tried to ride our first bicycle, at the age of 5 or 6, when we got our first bicycle and tried to ride it, we used our full intellect. Our friends told us, see, you have to move the pedal and hold the handle and balance and look in front. And our intellect said, oh, 4 things together? We tried, but we fell. And slowly, as we practiced in the space of 1 week, now we've moved to stage number 2. This is conscious competence. Now we were doing it carefully, but we were not falling, because that much of mastery had been achieved. So from conscious incompetence, we went to conscious competence. And then we kept on practicing and practicing. And we reached stage number 3. This is unconscious competence. Now we did it naturally, as if automatically we are never going to fall. Even if you fall asleep, the bicycle you will still be able to handle. So much of mastery was achieved. So people leave the handle and they're still going, they're speaking to their friend, etc. Nothing is happening. This stage arrives through practice. Likewise, any habit you wish to create will go through these stages. And in this, the first stage is most difficult. Second stage is less difficult. Third stage is least difficult. Because initially, you are pulling through the gravitational force of the old habit. Just like when a rocket is sent into space, it has got 3 fuel tanks. A small one in the beginning, a bigger one after that, and even bigger one after that. So when it takes off, the maximum fuel is burnt. And then the biggest one below is dropped. And then it picks up more speed, and then the second one drops. And it picks even more speed, and the third one drops. Now it's going automatically. Likewise, if you wish to install a new habit, initially there will be a struggle. When children come to me and say, Swamiji, I'm a night guy. How do I develop the habit of being a morning guy? So I say, look, first few days it will be very difficult. But if you have the willpower, you say, I'll do it. Second day it will be less difficult. Third day it will be less difficult. Now, for a few days, the new circuitry is still not strong. And electricity passes through the path of least resistance. And the old circuits are all there. You have to fight against them. But then you continue for some time, it becomes easy. Some people ask, how much time does it take to create a new habit? How much time do you think? There are all different theories. Some people say 21 days, some people say 256 days. The average is 66 days. See, it depends on what kind of habit you are talking about. If it is you wish to change a major habit, like shifting from a night person to a morning person, it may take a few months. If you wish to change a minor habit, like not surfing on Facebook, then maybe 20 days is good enough. But you need to sustain the new behavior for a little time. And that is where people lose patience. Because in the first few days, you are putting in the struggle and the results are not visible. There is this valley of discontent. Just like if you start heating the ice, which is at minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, you put the heat and it is still not melting. It is 0 degrees Fahrenheit, still not melting. 30 degrees, still not melting, and at 32 all of a sudden it melts. Do you think it melted all of a sudden? What seems all of a sudden took a long time to happen. Like when earthquakes happen, the tectonic plates of the earth are rubbing against each other for 1 million years, and the tension is building up, which erupts suddenly as an earthquake. But it was not as sudden as people think. Likewise, you wish to change yourself, you will first have to be patient. And you will have to have a little bit of willpower. Because the mind and senses will say this is painful. Now if you are willing to work and to strive, slowly, the good habits will start developing. When you see good people, do you think they are struggling all the time? Does it seem like that? Oh, no, I should not eat this food. It is natural for them. Why? They put little effort and develop good habits. We are all a result of our habits. So it is to our benefit to work a little hard and create the good habits. Agreed? We can all do this, at least try. Wonderful. We will now move on. So the fifth golden rule is install good habits. Now the sixth golden rule. Don't care for the opinions of others. We are always trying to be called good instead of trying to become good. Instead, if we try to become good, how good we will become? What we need to realize is that everybody in this world is different. Just like two leaves of a tree are never alike. Two trees are never alike. We human beings are different in every way. Our voices are different. Our bodily aromas are different. You don't realize, but the dog realizes. If you go to meet your friend, the dog sees you and starts barking, bow, bow, bow. And then it comes close and smells you. Oh, this smell is familiar, I know this guy. The dog is Nasika Pradhan. So all of us have different smells, different voices, different faces, different biometrics. But because we are social creatures, we are always comparing with others. And by comparing with others, we create our measure of success. And this also becomes a measure of our failure. Whereas the fact is, what is the basis for comparison? Supposing I tell you that one lady and one gent, Kusum Kumari and Champak Bhumya, They both had a race of 1 mile and they both reached equally. Whom would you praise? You will say, Swamiji, if the lady and the gent, they reached equally, then the lady is praiseworthy. But if I tell you that Kusum Kumari is 20 years old and Champak Bhumya is 60 years old, then you will say, if they reached equally, then the gent is praiseworthy because he is 60 years old. But if I tell you that the gent weighs 50 kgs and the lady weighs 100 kgs, then who is praiseworthy? Say she is 100 kgs, still she came equally, then she is praiseworthy. But if I tell you that Champak Bhumya is on a wheelchair, then who is praiseworthy? With wheelchair he came, then he is praiseworthy. What is the basis of comparing with others? The problem is, we are all the time comparing. One psychologist did this experiment with monkeys. He would give the monkey a marble. If the monkey gave the marble back, the psychologist would give him a cucumber. And the monkey would be so happy. Until this monkey saw that the neighboring monkey, for the same thing, was getting a grape. Then it became so annoyed. Next time the psychologist gave it a cucumber, it threw the cucumber on the psychologist's face. How dare you give me a cucumber when my neighbor is getting a grape? So, we people are creating these comparisons and creating our parameters for success based on this. But the goal of your life is not to be the best duplicate of somebody else. The goal of your life is to be the best version of yourself. You must run your own race to the best of your ability. That is what will make you happy, give you a sense of purpose, and also bring out the best in you. In one school, the annual sports day was happening. So grade 1 had the race, grade 2 had the race. Now in the grade 1 race, there were 50 girls running and the parents had also been invited. So parents are more ambitious than the children. Come on, my child, come on. The 50 into 200 parents and 50 girls running. Now there is one girl, Meenu. She came 20th in the race. She was so disappointed. Her father said, well done, Meenu. You have topped. Let's go and have an ice cream. Meenu said, but Dad, there were 19 girls in front of me. Dad said, no. There were 30 girls behind you. You came 20th out of 50, so there were 30 girls behind you. You were first among 31. She said, what about the 19 in front of me? He said, they were not competing with you this time. Why? Because they had prepared better than you. If you want to be in competition with them, you also prepare harder. She said, then will I come first out of 50? Dad said, no, you will come first out of 45. You'll come 5th, 6th in the race. No, but if I want to come first out of 50, then you practice even harder. That is how it is in life. There is no need to compare and feel unhappy. You have to see, am I doing the best that I can do? So, we people unfortunately start putting labels on others. And others put labels on you as well. ये तो ठेंगा है, तो भोंदू है, तो ऐसा है, तो ऐसा है. Now, should you give importance to such labels? One boy was a nerd. You know, after I came to America, I discovered what is a nerd. A nerd is someone who is technically very savvy, but maybe socially little obtuse. So this boy was a genius in STEM subjects. He was a nerd. And his classmates used to make fun out of him. So once he was sitting in the class behind because he was a little tall, and his friend wrote on a piece of paper, "I am a fool," and stuck it on his back. Now he doesn't know there is a label on his back. And all the other students know. They are looking at it and making fun. Ha 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 ha. The teacher, he said, "I have got a puzzle for all of you." And the teacher wrote a puzzle on the board and said, "Who can answer this?" The whole class was silent. Until this boy, he put his hand up. The teacher said, "Come." As he got up and went, all the students could see the label, "I am a fool." And they all started laughing. The teacher didn't realize what is so funny. When he came on the board and answered properly, and when he was returning to his desk, the teacher saw the label. Now the teacher said to the students, "Do you know why he answered the question?" Because he did not know of the label that you all had put on him. If he knew of the label, he would have thought he is a fool, and he would never have done well. So, the worldly people can say so many things to you. You should not give importance to that. See, the point is like this. Everybody wants to succeed. But people don't like to see others succeed. So if you get that promotion in your office, don't think all your colleagues will say, "Very good, you are the smartest." They may say in front of you, but when you go away, they'll say, "You know why she got the promotion? She used to butter up her boss, she is good in office politics, that is why." So people don't like the other's success. Now, why should you give importance to this kind of bad talk? Unfortunately, that is what we do. There was one man, he went to live in the forest to do some sadhana. And out there, he got a vacation, new vacation home. Now when the monsoon came and the rains fell, the frog started croaking and making merry. Tat, 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 pet, 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 honk, honk, honk. He said, "Oh my God, there are 1,000 frogs out here." Fortunately for him, there was a Chinese restaurant nearby. So he thought, here's my chance to earn money. He went to the restaurant owner and said, "Can I sell 1,000 frogs to you?" Restaurant owner said, "1,000 frogs?" He said, "Yeah, they are all around my bhajan kutir. They all make so much of noise, I'll grab them and sell them to you." The restaurant owner said, "Why don't you first start with 10 frogs? So we'll have 40 frog legs." So he said, "All right, I'll catch them and bring them tomorrow." Next day he came with 3 frogs. So the restaurant owner said, "3 frogs, you were going to bring 10 frogs?" He said, "You know, there were only 3 frogs, but they were making so much of sound, I thought there were 1,000 frogs." This is the nature of the world. You see Sita Mata. In the age of Treta, her Agni Pariksha took place to prove her purity. And even after that, when she came to Ayodhya, one washerman came out. I am not like Ram who will take Sita back home after she has lived in Lanka. So this was the age of Treta. And today is the age of Kali Yuga. Today, if you expect that everybody will call you good, you are too simple. The Bhagavad Gita says, Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin daiva asura evacha. There are always varieties of people in this world, the good and the bad. Now, if you do good things, the bad people will call you names. Are, this person doesn't even drink. What kind of a bhundu is he? Stay away from him. If you don't drink, people will make names. And if you drink, the good people will make names. No. He is from a Brahman family. He came from America and went astray. So no matter what you do, somebody or the other is going to make names. Why strive to please everybody? It is an exercise in futility. Take a look at Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner, does anybody know what is he famous for? The inventor of the vaccine. In 1796, he wrote his paper on the vaccine and submitted to the Royal Society in London. He had created a vaccine for an epidemic of those times, which was smallpox. It was a big killer. So he was working on the rumor amongst the milkmaids. There was a less virulent disease called cowpox, which used to spread amongst the cows and sometimes come to humans as well. So the belief amongst the milkmaids was that if you get infected by cowpox, you will never have smallpox. You will become immune to it. He took that statement and did his experiment. He took some pus from the pustula of the cow. A cow infected with cowpox, he took pus from the pustula and injected it into a 12-year-old boy called James Phipps. And then he showed that James Phipps was now immune to smallpox. So he wrote the paper and submitted it. They responded that his views were too crazy to be believed and he needed some more data. So he went about gathering more data. And subsequently, he did the same research on many, including his own son. Now the data was substantial. He resubmitted the paper in 1797. They had no option. They had to accept it. But the public refused. And cartoons started coming out, showing Edward Jenner in the midst of human beings with animal parts growing, and say, look, this is the consequence of what he is doing. However, the benefits were so substantial that people had to admit. And the word vaccine that he created came from the Latin word vacca, which stands for cow, because that is how he created the first vaccine. Hence the saying that if you are 2 steps ahead of your times, you will be called a visionary. But if you are 20 steps ahead of your times, you will become a martyr. People will kill you. So don't expect that everybody is going to applaud you. What is important is that God must be pleased. Now you decide, do you want to please human beings or do you want to please God? Who said God? Some little child responded. Okay, see, one Guruji was asked by his disciples. The disciple said, Guruji, how can I please God? The Guruji said, go to the graveyard and insult all the corpses like that. Now Guru Agya, he went to the graveyard and started telling to all the graves, inside were the corpses. So he said, you lazy fellows, you are lying here for so long, you've got nothing better to do. You just keep lying and lying and lying. And he came back. Guruji said, did they feel bad? No, Guruji, they did not respond. Okay, now go and praise them. So he went back. I am so sorry I said so many things to you. Actually, you are so nice. You have got so much of tolerance. Despite all my saying this, you did not respond in any way. And he came back. Guruji said, were they elated? Arey Guruji, they did not respond. Guruji said, your question was, what should I do so it will be pleasing to God? You become like that. Become impervious to the opinions of humans and focus upon pleasing God. So how will you please God when instead of trying to be called good, you will try and do good? That is the nature of the saints. If you read the lives of all saints, all of them got criticized in so many ways, but did they care? I'll tell you the story of one Chhajju Bhagat and then close today's topic. Chhajju Bhagat was a saint in North India a couple of 100 years ago. And he was a grihastha saint, a household saint. So he had his family, he had a little business shop, etc. He was a saint. So one man in that village had to go on Tirth Yatra, holy pilgrimage. He thought, where should I keep my valuables so they will not be lost? He said, the man of integrity is Chhajju Bhagat. So he took his bundle of gold coins and said, Maharaj, I have to go for Char Dham Yatra. Can I put this in your house? Chhajju Bhagat said, there is out there against the wall, others have also put their valuables, you put it there. He put it there and left. And after going to Badrika Ashram, Jagannath Puri, Rameshwaram, Dwarka, after 2 months he came back. Maharaj, I have returned, can I get my things? Chhajju Bhagat said, where you left it, you get it from there. So he went, the bundle was there, he lifted it up and came home. And when he opened the bundle, he discovered that 2 gold coins were missing. My God, this man is a saint and he is doing like this. So he went and stood outside Chhajju Bhagat's shop and house and started abusing. What do you think of yourself? You are a pretender, etc. You are a hypocrite. And then the people on the street, they also joined in the tamasha. We always thought that is how he is. Kuch dal mein zarur kala tha, etc. Chhajju Bhagat heard and he was quiet. Having vented himself, the man went home. And there he discovered that the 2 gold coins he had actually placed in the other place. He had not put it in the bundle where they were. Now he felt so embarrassed that unnecessarily he had insulted the saintly person and the gold coins were there. So he came back and stood in front of Chhajju Bhagat's house and started praising him. Oh, you have so much of integrity and so much of patience. We said so many things to you, it did not make a difference to you. So the people on the street also joined in. Yeah, that is what he was saying. He is actually a Mahatma. So Chhajju Bhagat came and said in Hindi, तुम्हारी निंदा को भी खाक और तुम्हारी प्रशंसा को भी खाक. Khak means ashes. You know, for me, your praise and your criticism both are like ashes. That is how we must learn to increase our immunity, emotional immunity to the opinions of others. Only then you can work on your own self. I once had the warden of a hearing impaired institution. He used to come every day. So in his institution were hearing impaired, deaf and dumb children. Now he was coming every day. He said, Swamiji, please come and bless my children. I said, let's go. So we were going around. He was introducing them. Now there were two in one area. And these two were fighting. So the one child was gesticulating. And the other child had his back to the first one. And he was laughing. I asked the warden, what is happening here? So they are both deaf and dumb. The warden asked by sign language to the second guy, why are you so happy and why is he so sad? The second boy, he answered by sign language that he is trying to insult me. But he cannot speak, so he has to do sign language. And he can only insult if I see him. So I am refusing to see him. That is why he is so angry. That is how we must try to become. So the goal of life is to try and become the best version of yourself and run your own race in life. Don't care what people think. Give importance to what God thinks. Then your heart will become pure. Correct? This is golden rule number 6. So we've got 2 more golden rules. Shri Radha Krishna Bhagwan Ki Jai.